Hello, welcome for this new video on the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Today we will see two verses. First one is 107. Svavad anyaśarīre'pi saṃvittim anubhāvayet apekṣāṃ svaśarīrasya tyaktvā vyāpī dinair bhavet. So, anubhāvayet, one should experience saṃvittim, consciousness, anyaśarīre'pi, in others' bodies as well, svavad, like in one's body. One should experience consciousness in others' bodies just like one experiences it in one's own body. I am conscious, I experience consciousness in my body. That is, I feel what happens in my body. I feel when an ant is crawling on me, when a dog is licking my foot. I feel most of what happens in my body. But in fact, consciousness is everywhere, so I could feel consciousness. I could experience consciousness everywhere, in every bodies, and even in inert material bodies, apparently devoid of any consciousness. I could feel consciousness there as well. So, anubhāvayet, I could, therefore I should. Anubhāvayet, one should experience. One should have the experience of consciousness in other bodies as well. And this is no supernatural power, because this is what in fact happens all the time. When one has empathy, when one sees someone else having his finger taken in the door, for example, I can feel his or her pain. When I see a soccer player about to goal, I can feel the excitement that he is feeling, and I can feel what my children are feeling. I can feel what the people I love are feeling. I can feel what other human beings are feeling. So of course it's more difficult, not so obvious with other living beings like spiders, for example, but the principle is the same. And even with inert object, with material object, apparently devoid of any consciousness, it's still possible. If I see someone who is beating my car, I feel as if I were beaten myself. I was beaten myself. So it's the same. If I see someone stealing my money or burning my house down, I feel as if I was burned down. So the notion of consciousness is very subtle, is very plastic, because actually consciousness is not limited to anyone or to anything. It's just a question of habit. To what I do identify myself. I do identify myself with that body, but I could identify myself with anything. There are no limits. So here in that verse we have more or less the same kind of experience that we saw in the previous verses about the body. Feeling that one's own body is not just that conventional body of me, but whatever appears is my body. The whole field of perception is my true body, and I can identify to anything within that. You've maybe seen on YouTube the funny experiment with the changing body experiment with the different cameras. A girl and a boy slap the gender by exchanging just the picture. And it's incredible how fast we can identify to another's body. So that's it. Consciousness is everywhere, everything. I can extend it. Of course, I have a very, very, very strong habit, a very deeply ingrained habit of identifying myself with that body. And it's true that I am directly connected only to the nervous system in that body. But according to the tradition, it's possible to overcome that. And this is, again, what we do naturally, spontaneously, without having to do any effort or thinking about it. when we have some moral reaction, when we see someone drowning in the water and we spontaneously want to help that person, this is, according to that tradition, this is because then the veil of separation is provisionally lifted, and I feel the oneness, because really it's one consciousness, one being. The veil of Maya is lifted. And this is also how the philosopher Schopenhauer used to explain the morals. According to him, the foundation of morals was that unity of different people, because there is a unity of being. But usually it is veiled by what he calls Maya, the veil of duality and self-forgetting and identifying with appearances, identifying with one's own conventional biological body. But that can be undone, because it has been done. It has been fabricated for many generations. But what has been fabricated can be destroyed, or can be made another way. What has been made can be unmade and remade. So here this is verse 107, and we have quite a long commentary with quotes, but classical, because this is a very classical topic in Hinduism, in Hindu spirituality. So there is nothing very special there. Next verse, 108. Nirādhāraṃ. Sorry, I think I have not translated completely the previous verse. Apekṣāṃ, the dependency. Svaśarīrasya, on one's own body. Tyaktvā, having given up, having dropped that identification. That it's more than identification. It is depending on one's own body. Apekṣāṃ, depending. So it's also implied here that the more I identify to this body, the more I depend on it, and the more I will be a slave of it, of its condition. If it feels pain, if it doesn't feel completely right, I will not feel completely right. So it will somehow spoil my life, spoil my happiness. And then vyāpī dinair bhavet. Dinair, in a few days, in a matter of days, bhavet, one will become vyāpī, all-pervading. No more confined to this body, no more locked down in that body, but all-pervading, all-pervasive, more and more pervasive, wide open awareness, more and more extensive, expansive in that sense. Next verse, 108. Nirādhāraṃ manaḥ kṛtvā, vikalpān vikalpayet, tadātmaparamātmatve, bhairavo mṛgalocane. Vikalpayet, one should not think. Remember vikalpa, that word, very important Sanskrit word. I have explained, I have glossed over it many times. So it's both building a thought and making a choice as well. It's creating a mental image by excluding what it is not. So vikalpān vikalpayet, one should not create thoughts. How? Kṛtvā, having made manaḥ, attention, nirādhāraṃ, without support, without resting, without fixating, without grasping at anything. Usually our gaze, our attention grasps at things, like a monkey who is jumping from tree to tree, always grasping. And here we just learn to let go, to relax attention, to relax the hand of the mind, which is grasping all the time things. So we learn to relax that mental hand, to drop, not to take any stand anywhere, not to take any support anywhere, and attention becomes more and more relaxed and wide open, and wide open attention is just pure universal consciousness. It's the same. The more relaxed is attention, it becomes like it becomes again consciousness, because attention is just congealed, hardened, crystallized consciousness, and consciousness is just relaxed attention. It's both the same. It's like water and ice. This is the traditional illustration. So having freed attention from all support, from all reference points, one does not think, one does not create any division anymore. And then tadātmaparamātmatve, given that that state of oneself is the supreme state of the self, Bhairava, one becomes divine again. Mṛgalocane, or you who have eyes of a gazelle. Eyes of a gazelle, because again, here is the god Shiva speaking to the goddess. So it's very simple. Just stop thinking. You know, there is a funny sketch, you know, by, I don't remember the name of that American sort of clown. It's called Stop It. You just come to see a therapist, and the therapist just says, stop it. You know, the woman who comes for therapy, she's afraid of being locked down in a box. And he just says, I'm going to give you a two-word therapy. Stop it. So that's it. In the end, you just have to stop it. And how? Well, stop it. If you look for a mean to put that mean into practice, you will need a mean for that mean to the mean, and then you will never do anything. You will never start. You will never practice anything. All that comes down to instinct. There is an instinct of what should be done, how it should be done. It's just like if I am asked not to move, to stop moving, how do I stop moving? Well, I stop moving. How do I stop speaking? I stop speaking. How do I stop thinking? I stop thinking. I just relax. Gradually or all at once, doesn't matter. Time is completely secondary in those matters. So this is yet another practice. No thinking. Just complete inner silence. Not to be confused with physical not moving, but just inside, no thinking. Try to live without thinking. That is, without saying words in your mind. And see how it goes, how it works. Like other verses, this is an experiment to be made by yourself, not something to be believed. It's not a catalog of New Age beliefs. We don't need of those. We have enough. Those are experience. Check and see for yourself. Do not believe anyone else. Here it's all personal in the sense that no one can ever experience in your place, even though we're all one consciousness, supposedly. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.